Alright guys, literally picking back up where we left off from part 1. Even the same gameplay. It's not the same gameplay, but it's the pickup gameplay. Um, Let me give you a little recap of what happened at part 1, just in case you need a little refresher. Right at the end, I basically woke up in real life, not knowing where I was, and instantly falling back to sleep. And I think that was the key to kind of allow me to live this lucid dream. This is when I hopped out of the car, full mind hardy, and moved a truck away from my car and popped all the dents back out without even touching it, and that just barely breaks the ice. We're going on to part 2. My favorite part of the two parts. This is the complete lucid dream. Now, let me tell you guys, I've had a lucid dream before. I was able to make a car and do other things like that, but I didn't have full mindful control. But instead, it was just like almost watching a story and just kind of saying, man, I wish there was blank here. And it wasn't too satisfying. It was amazing at the time, but especially after this part of the dream, you guys are going to know this was the real deal. I mean, this is something that people wait their entire lives to do. And somehow I did it. I don't know. I'm going to have an explanation video coming out later today. So maybe that might have some intel for you if you've kind of dissected these things before. But let's go ahead and get into part 2. So as soon as I knocked those dents out of my car and moved it, I realized that I was in full control. And not only was I in full control, I had my mind. And that's a very important part. You know, I mean, you can be in full control and be just stupid. And I mean, unless you. That's horrible. No, I mean, I was able to have clear judgment. I was very cognitive, and I did things that I wanted to do. So, like I said, the first mindful thing was moving the truck away from my car. I didn't want that on my car, and I wanted all those dents out of my car. And then that kind of made me want to think. And it's not like oh man, you're in a dream. It's like instantly you're gonna do things. It was almost like I was trapped inside of this world. I mean, I had my full mind. Some memories weren't there, and I judged that based on I had not a lot of like past event relevancy, and it's a little weird. All right, I don't know how deep this is, but I hopped back into my car and I parked it in a parking spot, and I literally thought about this for a good 15 minutes in the dream. And like I said from the first video, keep in mind the time of 5:36 flipping to 5:37. It's gonna come important, trust me. So I was actually just thinking about like what I could do and how I could control my surroundings, and I was just changing things around me outside of the car all around. And I first thought of and this kind of ties in with the memories of the lucid dream that I had, and I was like, man, okay, I know what I got to do there. I was so hyped for that. That was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. How can I make this better? That's literally the question I ask myself. And of course, I got out of my car and I started walking back to the school, right? Because the girl just told me to leave, go home. And I think that kind of helped me trigger this. You know, like if that event wouldn't have happened, maybe, you know, I wouldn't have woken up, wouldn't have went back. But I start walking back and I'm like, why am I walking? I could fly, right? Because I can do anything I want. You know, it's my world. So I, I rear back and I jump up as high as I can, and I just keep going. And I'm going far, far up, and I cannot control it. I mean, imagine you, like your mind right now, as you're thinking, as you're watching this video, just being able to fly, you know, not even in a la la land. I mean, this felt real. Like everything felt real, to the wind blowing, to the scents in the air. All of my senses were working, and I guess it was just working on past memories, but it was freaking me out. And especially since I knew 100% it was a dream and I knew nothing could go wrong, right? So I jump up and I'm trying to like fly around, and I could not get it. I would jump up and go very, very high, but I would land back down, and actually, I don't know if you guys are going to lucid dream or not, but I actually found out the best way to fly in your dream is to kind of ride it like a bicycle almost, like you're just in the air. Like I know it's ridiculous, but I was very balanced. I don't know I don't know how that happened, but it was pretty much like it, right? So I landed and I went back into my school, and I was literally changing everything about it. On every step I took, I was letting my imagination go wild in the school. I was changing everything, widening out, and it just became an entirely different building. And I'm going to refer to it as the school because that's kind of like its landmark, and I have no other name for the building. So from now on, this building is called the school. Just know it's much, much more than just a school, right? So the first thing I did, of course, was went to the cafeteria, right? And I looked at our cafeteria, and it was the one that I have now, and except it was a little bit different. You know, there was different things, and let me go ahead and tell you, nothing was the exact same. Nothing in the dream resembled 100% accuracy at all in real life, and I picked up on that quick. And I'm going to be talking about that more in another video, so I won't waste your time too much in this video. But so I go into the cafeteria and I'm like, okay, I want to model the seats after my middle school, high school kind of cafeteria seats. So that's what I did. I literally just looked and watched it all being formed right in front of me. And I walked into where you would get the food, and of course it's a buffet. And I literally spend about what feels like 30 to 45 minutes in this place just scarfing down food. And yes, I could taste it. I could taste the food. I felt the food. I knew what I was eating, except I wasn't getting full and I wasn't getting sick. So I just kept shoveling it in because it was pretty much amazing. Millions of people would kill for just that part of the dream, right? So I was doing that, and as I was eating, I would just look at people, look at the people in my dream, because like I said, I had full cognitive power, and I was looking, and it's kind of amazing how I kind of remembered where I've seen them before. Like, it was reaching back in my memories or something, like even glancing at people. I remember I saw this one person last weekend that was actually in the stream at a glance, literally at just over my shoulder. I was in Walmart, and I saw them, and I made complete eye contact, and I forgot about them. Probably the second it happened, but somehow in the dream I saw them again, and I just knew where I seen them. It was crazy. I mean, this is the craziest thing. That's why these videos needed to come out. But I was just looking at everyone, trying to see who was there, all these different people, and there were tons of people that I knew that was there. So I wanted to start exploring this structure because it expanded so much further than what I changed in the beginning, and it just became its own little compound. So I was looking around, and I noticed a dorm room style, like a room. And on that room, to be more descriptive, there was an exit sign, and then there was also an enter sign, and then there was a huge "do not come in," right? And I saw some names written on the door, and I'm like, hey, that's my friend, that's my buddy. And I just went in, of course, regardless of the signs. I went in, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, whoa, everything's so techy in here. Like, there's TVs all over the place, laptops are all over the place. But on his personal laptop, which is the same laptop that he has in real life, I noticed a notification kind of pop up, and it was like, your class pictures are in. So I looked, and I found a very peculiar picture. It had him and some other people I knew, but right in the middle was the girl that told me to go home from part one of this dream. And I was like, whoa, okay, maybe he knows her. I know he was just in the cafeteria. Guarantee he's still up there, because if he's anything like he is in real life as he is in my dream, he's enjoying that buffet. So I went back up, and I asked, I was like, hey. Oh, actually, before I went back up, this is interesting. I am going to talk about this in another video too, but whenever I walked out, a guy that I did not recognize, I didn't know where I've seen him before, he just said, hey, stop, you can't go in there. And I kind of looked at him, and I was kind of like thinking to myself, I'm like, this is my dream. I can do anything I want, buddy. And I was like, yeah, I can. I can go anywhere I want. And he kind of looked at me puzzled for, I mean, I felt the awkwardness. It was probably a good 10, 15, 20 seconds. And he was like, yeah, I guess you're right. So, like, he just understood. Like, he knew. And it was a little crazy. I'll talk about that in another video, like I said. But I walked back upstairs, and I'm talking to my buddy, right? I see him at the table. Of course, he's still in there, just gnawing on some chicken. And I'm like, hey, do you know who this girl is? And his response was very short and to the point. I'm not allowed to tell you. And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, you know this is my dream, right? I can make you say it. And he said, no, that's against the rules. And I'm confused, you know, like I made someone else agree to something I said, and I cannot make him tell me who this girl is. And of course I know her in real life, but it wasn't her, if that makes sense. It was like her, but it wasn't her. And I just could not force him to give me any information, so I hopped right back into my car. I was done with that school, hopped right back into my car, and I went to, of course, I flew to the car, guys, of course. I went to my car, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go home, and I'm going to think about this, right? So I got to my car, and I'm driving, and I'm thinking, like, man, why am I obeying the speed limit, right? I should be flying. So I started flying. All the traffic, and this is something to take note too. Whenever I was in my car and I was even speeding, all the traffic was very predictable. They did, you know, they made their turns. Everything seemed right. And then on my way to school, and this is also another thing to take, or on my way home, the road itself, like the structure of the road and the distance, was the exact same to a T. However, the scenery on the sides were a lot different. Some areas were the same, but others were vastly different. But I'm driving, I'm like, man, why am I driving my car? I could drive any car in the world, so I just literally make a Lamborghini underneath me, right? And I'm flying. I'm hearing the sounds. I feel the thrill of being knocked back into my seat. I mean, everything felt real, right? And whenever I did that, the traffic got extremely unpredictable. It was cutting in front of me, moving behind me, nothing too serious, and it just kind of got a flow to it that was not normal. It was not typical like it was before I did that. So I was like, okay, I can't have traffic, and I made them all go away. So no traffic on the road, flew all the way home. And whenever I got home, I tried to make everything the same, right? I tried to turn everything back to normal, and I could not do it. And I noticed the more that I tried to do it, I lost control of my dream. Like, I wasn't able to do some things, and then it kind of felt like I was watching myself, and I got a little scared. I'm like, no, I do not want this to slip away from me. So I ran outside, and I flew all the way back to the school. Like, I didn't even drive. I went to full Superman mode, forget the bicycle, went straight back to school. And as soon as I got back to school, and, you know, like I said, it wasn't a school or a classroom. It was just a building. I'm just calling it a school. Whenever I got back, I instantly felt like I had power, right? I felt like I could control everything. Everything was my sandbox, and I felt good there. So I stayed there, and I went inside, and I started interacting with all of the people. Many different things. This took many, many hours, it felt like, inside of the dream. And I talked to people, I interacted with them, I had conversations with people too. And I mean, this is me and my full cognitive ability. I guess talking to myself, maybe? I don't know, man. This is crazy. If anyone out there knows what's happening, please let me know. I need to know. And I'm going to talk about that in the rules video too. And really my end goal is I was trying to get enough information around to find out who that girl was from the beginning, and apparently who I was not able to know about, right? So I'm going around, and Like, no kidding, right? I was there, I was talking to people, interacting with people in all different ways for at least 3 hours. I mean, it could have been more. I have no sense for time, there was no watches or anything like that, but it felt like a very solid amount of time. And no lie, Emma Stone, if you guys know who Emma Stone is, she came up to me and she was not like anyone else I've ever seen. And in fact, she kind of looked different than I've ever seen her before in any movie. And she's wearing this yellow dress, and she has this blonde hair. It's like her red hair, and it's like cut a little bit above her shoulders, right? And she came up to me and politely, very politely said, "Aaron, I need you to wake up. You've been here too long." And I'm like, "What? I have not been here too long. I love it here. I could stay here forever." And she insisted, "You can't be here much longer." And I'm asking her, I'm like, "Why? Like, why is this is dream? Like, why do I have to wake up? Why can I not stay here for longer?" And then I asked her about I said, "What about the girl from the beginning and who I can't talk to?" And she said, "No matter what I did, I can never see this girl again. I can never talk to her. I can never know about her. I was not supposed to come back." And that kind of got me. And I'm like, am I arguing with myself? Can I not find something in my head? Is there someone in my dream actively watching out against me? And it's crazy how this interaction with me in full cognitive mode, like I was completely focused, just was talking to another human being completely focused, unlike any of the other people in the dream. And we were kind of saying, you can't do that. We cannot bring it back. And I was telling her, "Emma, this is my dream. I can do whatever I want inside of it, and you can't tell me what to do. And I can change the building." I was just changing things around me. And she replied to me, and this is kind of startling. She said, "This may be your dream, but it's her world." And honestly, I felt chills inside of the dream. And I kind of felt things right after that. After feeling those chills, everything started going back to normal. I started like having no control. I was just a third person watching everything drift by me. And I slowly started waking up, and I was kind of bouncing in and out of the dream. And Emma told me, she was like, the last thing that she said was, "Meet me here again and I'll tell you everything." Right as soon as I was waking up, right? I mean, it was the time between lucid, non-lucid, waking up, going back to dreaming, and just finally waking up. It was right then. It was the last thing I heard before I woke up. And whenever I woke up, I couldn't remember anything. I kind of looked out and I felt a weird kind of presence over me, like very, very tired, very mentally tired too. And I just kind of did not know where I was. I was completely loopy. My body wasn't moving. I had no control. And then I was just like, whoa, man, my neck's cricked. I have a headache now. And I was walking into the bathroom, and I remembered that, and at that point, I remember, and I wanted to make sure that I said this at the end because it might have confused some of you. Whenever I woke up the first time between part one and part two, I actually kind of remember waking up and like, man, this would be a good YouTube video. And I was about to go take a shower, and I'm like, man, what was that good YouTube video I was gonna make? Like, I think I remember saying, and literally everything flooded back into me. I mean, all everything down to the last detail. And I know for sure I left out tons of information in these videos. And no lie, as soon as I woke up, this, like, the minute I woke up, the second I woke up, looked at my clock, and the clock moved from 6:36 to 6:37. It was a perfect hour of sleep. And I'm telling you, this felt like at least a day, like 12, 13 hours of just solid mental exercise, and just kind of doing the things I want to do. I left out a ton of things in this. Literally, this video could have went on forever. It's very hard to explain what's in your head that was in your head before, and you kind of know the details and how everything felt. and just textures and smells and taste, and it's a crazy thing. Hopefully you guys enjoyed these part 1s and part 2s. I had a blast making this video. I mean, it's crazy. I know these videos are long, but I really had to break them up. Otherwise, it would have been like 30 minutes, and no one's going to watch that. This video is close to 30 minutes. We're at 20 minutes, but I am going to tell you in my next video some of the rules that were a part of my lucid dream. I talked about some throughout these parts, and I'm also going to tell you about a few other experiences that I had, and also if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. That's amazing. Like this video if you liked it. And if you loved it, you love this channel, make sure to check out the Patreon link in the description. It's really going to help me improve this channel. I'm trying very, very hard. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. Peace.